Hi guys, I'm Harry Yotis. I've been a professional trader for 20 years now. I started my career in 2008 working for a big bank in Canada, and for the past 10 years I've been trading my own account. So let's get started with today, the 16th of December, Tuesday. Big day. This was the day everyone was waiting for. The big news of the day is the October and November non-farm payrolls were released. Okay, we'll get to that shortly. First, we always talk about a picture of the S&P 500 and the technical analysis of the market in general, because so goeth the market, so goeth every stock in the market. Okay, so technical picture, still bullish. Okay, let's bring in the moving averages. We were praying to see, like yesterday, we talked about praying to see the market go back and touch the 50-day moving average before going up again, because we were suspecting, we pretty much knew that a lot of people were buying calls on this breakout into new highs on Thursday of last week. And so people bought a lot of calls, so they had to get destroyed now, okay, because that's how the market works. It doesn't reward the easy trade. So, and we got it. We got that touch of the 50. So those calls probably got killed. A lot of people were buying puts as it was going down the market. And look at this wick. Touch the 50, then back up here, okay? Still very bullish because we're trading above the 50. And we're still long-term upward trend that looked to be broken here. But then once we recovered quickly, it was a good sign. Especially since we look at the fundamentals first, and the fundamentals were saying that the reason this market went down was because of the Bitcoin capitulation, nothing else. Okay, so once that ended, we're reverting back to the bullish trend. Okay, so technically speaking, we are bullish. However, we have one caveat: is that look, we have two peaks here. So technically, we could have double top forming. Okay, but we could also have a cup and handle forming. So don't let the technicals determine what you're going to do. Always look at the fundamental picture. The fundamental picture hasn't broken down, as we'll get to the jobs report soon. So I am still bullish with just one small caveat of a double top maybe, which I give it a very small probability of that occurring. Okay, I'm still very bullish. Obviously, we don't just look at the technicals. Let's get rid of the moving averages so we can see more clearly here. Yeah. So loving this wick, by the way. So let's go to the sentiment analysis. It was at 50, now it dropped. This is pretty good. We're still not really greedy. We have fear here. Put call ratio dropped to greed. It was at extreme greed yesterday. So still, the sentiment is basically neutral. So we have a lot more to go before we start feeling the greed. Okay. So coupled with the sentiment analysis and the technicals, I'm still bullish. Okay. So let's get on to the big news of the day, which is the non-farm payrolls. Okay, we see that the October and the November report were both released. The October we saw minus 105,000, which is bad. That looks very, very bad. But we recovered in November to plus 64. Okay, so let's see here on Zero Hedge, we have the payrolls paradox. November jobs rise by 64K, more than expected, but the unemployment rate jumps to a 4-year high. Okay, here are the details. This is what you really need to know here, is that in October, the U.S. lost 105,000 jobs entirely due to a plunge in government jobs. Okay, this is the most important thing. But this was offset by the November jump of 64,000 jobs. Okay, which is basically what this other source of mine, if you look at this guy, Mish Talk, he said, how did Doge government job firings impact the jobs report? And you'll see that government jobs October change, minus 157. And look, almost all of that was federal. Okay, so it would have been up by, I guess, 50,000 or whatever. It wouldn't have been as bad. So what we can conclude from the jobs report here is that this anomaly is not that bad, and we're still coasting. Okay, it's not an amazing jobs environment, but we are still coasting with positive jobs going forward. And we saw that last week the initial claims were not that bad. Okay, so they were still very, very low. Still to be looked at. It's not amazing, but we're not dying yet. Okay, and this probably gives more credence to the fact that the Fed might even slightly change its rate cut schedule, but it shouldn't impact it that much. Okay, the most important thing to remember for the Fed that we mentioned here was when the Fed came out, I think last Wednesday, was that they're basically going to start QE. They're going to start buying bonds again up until April tax season. So you have 4 months of QE hitting the markets. They're going to say it's not QE, but trust me, it's QE. So that's very, very positive. So that is the conclusion for today. This jobs report basically didn't change the Fed's mind, and I'm still staying bullish. I'm still long, and I think it goes up into the new year. Okay, so I thought today I'd start to answer one of the questions that a subscriber asked yesterday. His name is Lucart08. I hope I got your name right, Lucart. And he wanted me to look at BMNR. Okay, so I thought BMNR is basically the Bitcoin Emergent Technologies. It's like a Bitcoin miner. Okay, basically not Bitcoin, it's really Bitmine Emergent Technology. It's really Ethereum that it mines. It used to mine Bitcoin, but it's Ethereum. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to not just answer Lucart08's question, but to show how I go about initiating a trade. Okay, so this will bring me first into the Bitcoin space. When I see a stock like this, Bitmine, it's a Bitcoin miner, so I want to look at the fundamentals of the entire market first. And Bitcoin, as we kept mentioning in the past, after this crazy capitulation, it got monkey hammered, and now it's sort of like hovering around these levels. It's sort of dizzy after getting smacked. And for me, as I was saying that the market was going up, I really don't want to be in the Bitcoin space because I don't think the upside is as much as the general market and basically my number one trade, which is precious metals. Okay, so I generally don't want to be in this market. So when that happens, when I don't like the fundamental picture of Bitcoin, I generally don't make a trade in the space. I have a leftover trade when Bitcoin was trading around here in Mara, okay, Mara Technologies, but that's probably going to be a loser, okay, because I got into it around here. It looked good for a while and then tanked all the way back down. So when I make a trade when I'm considering a trade like BMNR, I would first look at the fundamentals behind what it trades, which is the crypto space, which is basically Bitcoin. So go with Bitcoin, so go with the crypto space, okay, even Ethereum. So I'm really not into the Bitcoin space right now, so I would not trade BMNR. But let's say I liked Bitcoin, I thought it was going to recover. I mean, I still think it recovers, but maybe not that much. Maybe it gets around here. Okay, I don't think it gets to new highs. Whereas the market and market stocks, I think they get to new highs. That's why I prefer that. And I think precious metals continue their new highs. But let's say, fundamentally speaking, I have to have a check mark there first. I don't now. But let's say there is a check mark and I love fundamentally the crypto space. Okay, then which stock do I trade? Is it BMNR? Okay, then I would get into a fundamental picture to see which stock in the Bitcoin space I like. Is it BMNR? Well, I like to use, from a previous video, you saw that I like to use Seeking Alpha. And one of the first things that I look at is the earnings and the earnings report and the balance sheet. So basically I do a fundamental, like accounting type review of BMNR, okay? But if you'll see that it's pretty much similar to all of its peers. And this is a picture of BMNR compared to MicroStrategy, Mara, Riot, and CleanSpark, okay? Which one of these leaders, quote unquote, would I want to invest in? Basically, I want to invest in the best stock of the lot, okay? Is BMNR the best stock? Like you can go through it here. Like it has been performing better than the others in terms of the percentage returns. But what I would look at if you go through this is the comparison, forget valuation, of its growth first. Okay, I look at the growth, I see is its revenue growth, forward growth better than its competitors? It's not, even though past growth was pretty good. I mean, Riot Blockchain and CleanSpark destroyed it. So maybe I would look at these two. Riot and CleanSpark when it comes to revenue growth, and especially forward growth. We look forward. We don't care about the past as much. We want the trend to continue. Forward-looking statements are pretty important for us, okay? So it doesn't look like it's going to do well on a forward-looking basis in terms of the revenue. And the EPS, again, earnings per share, forward-looking, it doesn't look like these guys are going to do very well. Okay? So first you look at the growth, then the profitability. The gross margin is business. It's not as good. Look, it's 5% compared to the rest. 70% of MicroStrategy. Riot and CleanSpark are still doing pretty well. Mara destroying it. Okay, what about the net income margin? This is huge. It's making a lot of net income because it's a small number. It made like a little bit over its sales. So it looks like a huge number, okay? But don't be fooled by that. This is more in line, okay? So basically what we're trying to do is see if it's more profitable than its peers and if it has better future growth than its peers, okay? So from this, I don't think it cuts the mustard compared to the rest, even though it had a better look to it, okay? Then I want to look at certain intangibles, okay? Like, for example, if we look at BMNR again, you can see here that it's split 24-1 in May. And if you keep going back, it's split again. It's split 1 for 200, okay? If you keep going back, it keeps splitting. So this is very dilutive for the stock. Look, it literally has to go to $450 million a share for it to go back to the previous highs of the 2000s. And it has to go to $160,000 a share just to go back to the 2008, 2009 high, okay? And literally $840 a share to go back to the 2021 highs, which is like crazy. It's like we call that dilution, okay? It's probably not going to go to $800 a share, okay? And it has a lot of shares outstanding. It has about 450 million shares outstanding. You're starting to get up there. You get to the billion shares, it caps the upside. So you're never going to see those highs again, just based on dilution. You want something like Mara. Okay, Mara, it too split. Okay, look, the last split here was 1 for 4. Okay, so Mara, the previous 2013 highs or the 2014 highs are like 150, 140. It's still possible it can get there. Even the 2021 highs were only 70. From 10 to 70, it's different than from, BMNR, from 31 to 800. It's much, much more of a percentage gain. It needs to accomplish much higher of a percentage gain to get back to the highs, whereas Mara doesn't have to because it hasn't diluted as much. Okay? And MicroStrategy is probably, at highs, and it hasn't really split. So MicroStrategy just has to double to get to like 400 or 350, okay? So just the dilution, past dilution, makes me not want to play BMNR, okay? So overall, I don't want to be in BMNR. I'd rather be in something else like maybe Mara or MicroStrategy or CleanSpark. We focused on this before. This is probably doing better than the rest, okay? Even though it too did split. So CleanSpark is probably a better play if you want to go that route than BMNR. So that's how I look at it. I look at the macro view. I look at if I have a fundamentally positive view of this sector, and then I dig deeper and see the fundamentals of each stock that I think will be a leader in that sector, and then I narrow it down to my one pick, which will probably be CleanSpark, Mara, or MicroStrategy. Okay, so that's why I will not be playing BMNR if I had a choice. I'd rather pick the others. Okay, so that's it. A little quick analysis of how I would trade, how I would approach a trade going forward. Thank you, Lucart08, for the BMNR pick and how I would compare it to the rest. So I give you a little bit of a mini course of how I would approach a trade going from the fundamentals down to the technicals, and a little bit more in between. It's obviously more in depth, but this is a quick study of how I would do it. And my conclusion is I wouldn't really play BMNR. Okay, so let's recap what we learned today. The S&P 500, the big news came out. The October non-farm payrolls were bad, but November were better. So I don't think this changes the Fed's view. We had a perfect technical bounce here, if you can see it, right off the 50 and then back up again. Let's eliminate it. So I love this bounce. To me, it's probably going to go much higher. So I'm very bullish on the SPY going forward, especially since we got rid of the recent call buyers. So I'm liking the S&P 500 going forward. The non-farm payrolls didn't make that much of an effect. And my analysis of BMNR and the Bitcoin space overall, I'm not that positive. Okay, so that's it for today, the 16th of December. Guys, thank you. If you like this, like and subscribe, and of course comment again, and I will make another video commenting on a particular stock that you want me to view. Okay, so looking forward to tomorrow. We still have the inflation numbers coming up on Thursday, I believe, and initial claims. So looking forward to tomorrow, guys. Take care.